Console, online. HPG connection, online. Educational module, online. All systems, nominal.
Hello, class, and welcome to On the Origin of Battlemechs Podcast, episode 72. I am your host, Brent Stewart. My co-hosts today are...
I'm Joshua.
And I'm Chandler.
And today we are going to talk about the Highlander Part A, because this mech is absolutely fantastic, and there are a whole bunch of models, and there were enough that we had to split it in half. And who's going to complain about more Highlander love? Am I wrong, or am I right?
2 weeks of Highlander.
But there can only be one.
Cue the soundtrack from Queen.
Here we are.
And speaking of Highlanders, and there can only be one, welcome back, Brent. We've missed you.
Thank you. I appreciate everybody manning their stations while I had to step away for some personal reasons. Eagle-eared listeners will probably have already figured out what it is from the intro. But yeah, I'm not wanting to air my dirty laundry here, so we're just going to go into the show with a thank you for... keeping the ship sailing while I was away, and I appreciate all the listeners bearing with us during these interesting times.
Yeah, we're glad to do it.
So the Highlander is a 90-ton assault mech, and it is difficult to start to describe it because it is so many things, and all of them are good. It has superior armor, heavy firepower, and having a battlefield maneuver named after it retroactively. It served in the SLDF for over 2 centuries, and continued on with Kerensky to be updated into the Highlander 2C line. Those that remained in the inner sphere were often able to limp off the battlefield at the very least, and so the Highlander never went away. Originally conceived as a city and siege fighter, the Highlander's firepower, armor, and jump capability quickly showed that it was a powerful machine on any battlefield. Its reinforced legs and tonnage have led to the death from above maneuver being a particularly effective tactic for the Highlander pilots, and thus the Highlander burial was coined. What else can we say other than it has earned its reputation more than once over, and it is better to have a Highlander on your side than across from you?
Yes.
It has a TV for a head. That is what I will say.
So the Highlander and the Highlander 2C have the design quirks of command mech, cowl, reinforced legs, and difficult to eject. Sorry, you were saying, Josh?
Oh, I was just going to chime in on that. Some of the old art literally looks like...
A CRT?
Yeah, high-tech video game graphics on an old CRT.
Mm-hmm.
You just imagine the pink landscape lines.
Yep. So the first model we are going to talk about today is the Highlander HGN-732. It has a movement profile of 353. It's got 2 medium lasers in the right torso. It's got an LRM-20 in the left torso. It's got a Gauss rifle in the right arm, and it's got an SRM-6 in the left arm. It has Pharaoh and 10 single heat sinks, and it's got case in the right torso to help with that Gauss rifle, because of course it is in the arm, but you can't put case in the arm, but it will protect you as much as it can.
Gotta wait for that case too.
I think it's got 12 heat sinks.
Yes. So it can get a little warm if you are doing all the things, but well, you know, if you're probably not wanting to do all the things with this at once unless you're in a very bad position.
Yeah, I mean...
Yeah, generally you're just going to want to hang back and Gauss and LRM-20 your opponents as much as possible.
Yeah.
Unless you're in a really bad spot, you're not going to be firing the LRM-20 and the medium lasers at the same time, usually.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the jumping is not for mobility. That's really for utility.
Yeah, 3 jump, it's not enough to make it worth jumping frequently. That's more if you need to get down a mountainside or pop over a level 2 building or something. You do that.
Or a fortress wall.
Or, of course, you want to DFA onto somebody's head.
Yes.
Bury them under 90 tons of mech.
Yeah. So this guy is the OG Highlander, and as we mentioned, it's got that big boxy head with the CRT-looking scan lines, and if you look at the art, even on the back, it's got the antennas. Not rabbit ears, but, you know, close enough.
I wonder if it's in black and white or color.
Color's lost tech.
So Technicolor.
There you
go.
Yeah.
So I really like the left arm. It's got like this gauntlet hand that just has the SRM launcher like across the knuckles, which I think is pretty sweet. You know, it's kind of almost Wolverine-ish, like the Marvel character, not the mech.
Yeah, the dual claws thingies.
Yeah.
Yeah, they kind of remind me of an alien hand more than claws, but
That's
at
fair.
least you can punch without wrecking the barrel of your Gauss rifle, theoretically.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's in the right arm, and it just ends in a rifle, but it does have kind of like two armor plates that protrude further past the end. So, you know, theoretically, you have something to hit with.
Oh,
Not great for raiding because, you know, you can't make off with pallets of stuff.
I get what you mean now. You're talking about the fist hand and the SRMs. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm dumb.
no worries. Anyway, I also really like the two medium laser ports are pretty clear on the right side of the torso, and it's nice to see them like not just be a little pinprick.
Yeah, that's always nice seeing the weapons actually look like weapons.
Mm-hmm. But of course, one thing to absolutely note about this machine is its feet and legs, because they have this very iconic dish with a channel carved out of the front, and they definitely look hardy legs, you know, which is why it's got those quirks of reinforced legs.
The feet almost look like cattle hooves, like something you'd see on a cow or a moose.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Something with cloven feet. Does that mean that Highlanders are the devil?
No, it means that the Highlanders a centaur.
Ah, even better. Wait, that would require another two legs.
No, not centaur.
Satyr?
Satyr, yes. It's been a while since I thought about Greek mythology. All right.
It's the goat.
Yeah. Was it in The Land, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, Mr. Timble or
Timnus?
Timnus, yes.
Mr. Timnus. Timnus. Anyway.
The one really nice thing about the Highlanders art is it stayed very stable through the eras. Like it gets, you know, facelifts and a little bit of aesthetic tweaks here and there, but for the most part, it stays very true to the original idea and doesn't change much as compared to something like the Thunderbolt, where the re-scene is like a completely different beast and then comes back around.
Yeah, or like the Phoenix Hawk. But the only divergent kind of design is the 2C, which looks different, but still very much looks like a Highlander.
Yeah.
So the HGN-732 was first seen in 2592, and it has a battle value of 2227 and a point value of 48. We then come to the 732B. So the royal version, seen in 2598, and of course, because it is the royal version, it gets all the bells and whistles. It's got a movement profile of 353. It's got 3 medium lasers in the right torso. It's got LRM 20 with Artemis 4 in the left torso. The Gauss rifle is still in the right arm, and the SRM 6 has been upgraded to also have Artemis 4. It's got Pharaoh and double heat sinks now. And yeah, so this is a good guy. It's got case in both the left and right torso, just like the previous one did. I believe I had neglected to mention the case in the left torso. Just cover the bases.
I like the fact that it also adds a third medium laser. There's something kind of nice about having 3 of those, 15 damage for 9 heat.
I mean, the medium laser is just an efficient weapon, so more of them is always good.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think this is a very good poster child for what you can do by just switching a mech from single heat sinks to double heat sinks, because that's where the majority of your weight savings is coming from.
Yeah, the previous version had Pharaoh already, and, you know, it doesn't upgrade to Endo Steel or anything like that. It drops 2 heat sinks and switches to doubles, and I guess, where does it, because Artemis is an extra ton for each weapon system.
It loses a ton of SRM 6 ammo. Yeah, so
there it is.
So the 2 tons it saves from the double heat sinks, it puts into the Artemis systems for the SRM 6 and the LRM 20. Yeah, Artemis systems. And then the dropping the extra ton of SRM 6 ammo gets you the 3rd medium laser,
which is reasonable for the tabletop, because, you know, you've got 2 tons of the LRM, which is 12 shots, and 1 ton of SRM 6s is 15 tons, or 15 shots per ton, which will do you for most actual tabletop games.
Yeah, and you don't really want to be super close with this guy. Those SRMs and medium lasers are kind of backup. Your big hit and damage is the Gauss rifle and that LRM-20. So
I mean, with a movement profile of 353, it's not like you can really charge them that fast.
exactly.
Yeah.
They got to come to you, and that's what the medium lasers and SRM to buffer them off.
Yeah, you're really aiming to be in that medium to long range bracket, right? As people are starting to come into range, you're really pounding on them. And then if they get close, you kick them, you shoot them with more missiles, and they die, hopefully.
You jump on top of them if you have to.
Indeed.
But I think it's that movement profile that makes me the most sad. And I get it. This is a 90-ton assault mech. There's not much you can do to give it good firepower and go faster, but capping out at 50-something kilometers an hour or about 30-something miles per hour, just you're not very mobile.
You're a mobile turret that can jump.
I mean, you're more mobile than a turret, but we're talking you're not keeping up with what we would consider main battle tanks today.
No, definitely not.
Or armored tracked IFVs. I don't even think you can keep up over uneven terrain. So just
Yeah, and I think it really draws back to the original idea that this thing is for city fighting.
Because every time you do a run on the pavement, you're going to have to make a PSR check, and those can add up if you're running real fast and real far.
yeah. And I like more mobility in my mechs. I like the idea of being able to keep up with what modern armies can do, which means you need to be minimum 4.6 for most things. But if you need a siege breaker, this guy's great for that.
Oh yeah, this is a very specific tool. Like, it's not like this is a command mech and this is a siege breaker and this is a dense city fighter, but it can quickly be outmaneuvered by lighter things, and so you have to be careful, or you have to make sure it has support.
Yeah, and I think that's definitely a difference between how the SLDF thought of assault mechs and then what everyone thought of assault mechs past the Secession Wars, where after the Secession Wars, they were definitely something you could just throw at something, be like, just go kill it. And you wouldn't have to, you'd worry about it, but you wouldn't be like, I need to support this. I need it to be in its little bubble and protect it with everyone else with the SLDF, because, the fights were that much more massive. Whereas during like Secession Wars and getting into the clan invasion, you could throw an assault mech out with a couple of mechs around it instead of like a whole platoon, and it would just do its thing. It would just go and kill. Whereas the SLDF, they're definitely much more focused on, this is a massive, it's just going to walk in and kill everything, and it's going to be supported by an entire army. And
I mean,
we covered the setting's gone away from that,
right?
Yeah, it's very SLDF with the movement profile, where it's not the main force, it's the hammer or the anvil, depending on what situation it's in.
Yeah.
And it's also very SLDF in that, hey, we're going to make a 90-ton assault mech jump, because that would be cool.
I mean, they're not wrong.
I mean, cue the Emperor at 95 tons saying, listen here, Sonny, I did it first.
Actually, which one did do it first?
The Emperor came first.
Like, the Emperor came first, but I don't believe the first version had jump jets.
I think it did. I'd have to double check it.
Let me double check my notes real quick here.
Quickly, lore measuring contest.
The Emperor 6A came out in 2612 with...
Does not have jump jets.
With 3 jump jets. 6A, not the 1A.
Oh, yeah, the 5A also has jump jets, so...
When's the 5A?
The 5A.
2502.
Oh, 2502.
So that puts it 90 years before the Highlander 732.
Indeed. So the Emperor did do it first.
Get wrecked, Sonny!
So the Royal version has a battle value of 2335 and a point value of 54. We then come to our first named version, the Highlander 732 Colleen. And this guy has the other classic art, where it's kind of in an actiony pose, doing the torso twist all the way, and the Gauss rifle arm is pointed down, and the left arm is pointed out, likely either directing people or about to fire those SRMs.
MUL's changed the artwork.
Oh, did they? This is the one I had from my record sheet. So this guy was seen in 2801, and it's got a movement profile of 353. It's got 2 medium pulse lasers in the right torso, 2 LRM-15s in the left torso, an ERPPC in the right arm, and a Streak SRM-6 PP in the left arm. PP is prototype, I believe, right?
Yes, the Streak 6 that has is a prototype clan one, so this is getting into clan era. Because Colleen Schmidt, she does things and stuff and other things, maybe some other stuff.
Yeah.
Yes.
So this guy's got 4 tons of ammo for the LRM-15s in the left torso with case, and it's got 1 ton of Streak ammo in the left arm. It has 14 double heat sinks and also has ferro. So this is neat and interesting, and it's definitely a different loadout, but I feel like it keeps the spirit of what the original Highlander was trying to do. You know, you've got something to reach out and punch someone with, and you've got missiles to rain down on them. And yeah, no, this seems like an interesting, like branch of the Highlander, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and this one's even better in close range compared to the 32 and the 32B, just because the ERPPC doesn't have a minimum range, and the medium pulse lasers, once you get within the LRM-15 minimum range, are really going to start to shine.
Yeah, I still don't think inner sphere medium pulse lasers are worth it.
I mean, that's why we get the variable pulse laser, right?
I mean, you also got to remember when this was put into existence, clan pulse lasers didn't exist yet. So, I mean, worked with what they got.
Yeah. X-pulse are what inner sphere medium pulse or pulse lasers should have been from the start.
Yes.
So the Colleen variant has a battle value of, I apparently typed something
2164?
Battle value
2164.
Well, you're wrong.
The record sheet I have says 2170 or 2127. So everybody has a different answer, but
Master unit list says 2164.
That's what I was about to say. So that's what I'm going to go with as my final answer. And it's got a point value of
that's
51.
Your final answer. Oh, I guess it is.
Yeah. So next up we have our other named variant of the evening, the Jorgensen. It was seen in 2829, and it keeps the movement profile of 353. It's got an ER large laser clan in the right torso, LRM-20 with Artemis 4 in the left torso, Gauss rifle clan in the right arm, and an ER large laser clan in the left arm. It's got 13 double heat sinks. It's got 2 tons of ammo for the LRM in the left torso, protected by a case. There is case in the right torso, protecting that Gauss rifle in the arm from blowing out your engine. And it's got ferro, just like all the other ones.
I like how basically everything for the Highlander so far has had case.
Yeah.
This is a big, expensive mech with lots of cool toys on it. Protect.
Yes. Case is life.
He attack, but he also protect.
But most importantly, he jump.
And he survive.
But he also protect while jump.
Yeah.
He always protect.
This guy is pretty neat. Probably run a little hot. Definitely wants to stay at range, because we've swapped out all of the short range for long range weapons, but packs quite a punch.
Yeah, it definitely feels like a clan dueling machine, and that's pretty much exactly what it probably was designed to do. And, Jorgensen, he knew exactly what he wanted to do. He wanted to stay at range, pink away, and by pink, I mean rip holes in the enemy mech until they broke, and that's what this does.
Just open up holes with those 2 ER large lasers and Gauss rifle, and then shove some LRMs in there to find all the fun bits.
Just be glad he doesn't have an LBX.
Silver bullet Gauss rate.
So it's got a battle value of 2682 and a point value of 53. We then come to the first of our actual full-on clan mechs, the Highlander 2C. And I absolutely adore this art. I think it is kind of ridiculous and slightly exaggerated, and I love it, and it looks so good. The cowl is definitely still there, but now it's looking straight on at the camera or the perspective. You get the two antennas on the back. The LRM launcher is much more pronounced, and it has this 5 slotted door for opening, which is midway through opening, starting at the top and going down. You can very clearly see the laser ports in the left torso. The left arm has the dual SRM launchers that just kind of are stacked on top of each other like this exaggerated gauntlet that looks good. And the right arm is just a giant honking Gauss rifle that looks like a sci-fi rifle, and I love it.
How much do you love
Yeah,
it?
I think Plog definitely did very good work on this one, because I can see his little signature is made in 98.
Mm-hmm. And it keeps the definitely design style of the feet, but instead of having it be a dish, the hoof is much more elongated now, I guess, if we're going to use the descriptor from before.
Yeah, that Gauss rifle looks like it's a real weapon now instead of just a little barrel underneath the arm.
Yeah, looks like it's got some good weight to it.
I think my only complaint about this art is it feels more like a battle armor suit than a mech in a lot of ways. Mostly because that big old gun looks just like what you get on an Elemental or Grey Death standard battle armor.
That's fair, but I mean, you're saying it looks good? It looks like it could be more than one thing?
Yeah, no, yes, it looks good. It looks
Yeah.
good. It just also looks like you could totally spin off another fictional universe and just take this art and make it your battle armor art.
Because that's never had any problems before.
I'm just happy it's not in an anime pose. I don't like the 2 C's that are all in anime poses. Like, I get Gundam's fun, but this isn't Gundam.
Fair. So this guy's got a movement profile of 353. It's got an LRM 20 in the right torso with Artemis 4 also in the right torso. It's got 3 medium pulse lasers in the left torso, a Gauss rifle in the right arm, and 2 Streak 6s in the left arm. And of course this is all clan tech. So it has case, but it is all integrated.
Yay! It also has 12 double heat sinks.
Indeed. Also has the ferro armor, just like all of its inner sphere brothers. It's got 3 tons of ammo for the Gauss rifle. It's got 4 tons for the LRM and 1 for the SRM-6, which is not too bad because it's streak. So, you know, if you miss, they don't fire.
Brother.
Joke's on you, Chandler. In the Dark Ages, this is available to the Lyran Commonwealth, but no other Inner Sphere factions except for the Republic, but they don't exist anymore.
That's fine. I'm cool with that. They can have their Highlanders.
They're Highlander 2
We'll take
Cs.
we'll take the Supernova. I think we went out on the clan assault mech fight there.
I don't know, the fact that Clan's medium pulse doubles every single range bracket over the Inner Sphere one makes those 3 medium pulse lasers actually really good.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. On the off chance someone gets within your Gauss rifle minimum range, you're like, oh no, it's a shame I have all these medium pulse lasers to murder you with.
Let me just give you a dash of SRMs as well.
Well, and if you think of the -2 as basically just extending short range out to its medium range bracket, because you'd be getting functionally a +0 mod there, the medium pulse laser has the clan medium pulse functionally has a short range of 8, which matches up with the short range of your Gauss rifle. So if you have them in short range of your Gauss rifle, you have the exact same targeting number with your medium pulse lasers.
So this guy was seen in 2858 and has a battle value of 2979 and a point value of 59. We then come back to the Inner Sphere with the Highlander 733. It's got that movement profile of 353, 2 medium lasers in the right torso, a LRM 20 in the left torso, an SRM 6 in the left arm, and a AC 10 in the right arm. It's got 13 heat sinks single. It has 2 tons of ammo for the SRM 2 and 3 tons of ammo for the LRM 20 and 2 tons of ammo for the AC 10. But sadly, this is the first version without case.
Well, explosive blowout panels have become lost tech.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they forgot how explosions worked by this point in time. So
Well, it was produced in 2866, so that is Succession era.
yeah,
And I mean, the explosive blowout panels are probably fairly simple when you're using Newtonian physics, but when you start using Time Lord physics on your ammunition bins, it becomes a little more complicated.
It's true.
timey-wimey stuff.
So, this guy is definitely a little different with the AC-10. You know, it loses a little range, loses a little punch, but, you know, Gauss rifles are lost tech at this point.
Yeah, I do
Yeah.
find it interesting that this was still a very rare mech during the Secession Wars.
I like the AC-10 if you can use precision ammo. I really think precision ammo should have been more widely available during the Succession Wars, along with all the other ammunition types, because it seems like it's such a staple weapon, the autocannon family,
Mhm.
that you would expect there to be ammunition developments to try and make up for their deficiencies compared to the now lost tech Gauss rifles.
You also have to remember, I mean, precision ammo to be the example here, that didn't come into existence until 3062. So
I know. What I'm saying is I think they should have come in much earlier during the
Earlier.
Succession Wars,
yeah,
because that feels like the kind of fairly low tech upgrading and improving capabilities.
What you're saying is you're sure someone should have been working on it.
Yes, maybe
Yeah,
they were,
fair.
and Comstar just killed them.
I mean, that would track.
yeah, and I think it maybe not the precision shell, but because that one's pretty high tech, relatively speaking. But stuff like the flak and armor piercing, you know, things that aren't, you know, when you think about it, are like, oh yeah, armor piercing. I just shot a heavier shell with a very specific, you know, metal composition at you, or flak where it's just like it just explodes eventually. You know, it should have been around more.
Mhm.
Yep.
This guy, the 733, has a battle value of 1801 and a point value of 44. A little bit of a dip there, but, you know, going from a Gauss rifle to an AC-10 will do that. We then come to the 733C, produced in the same year. And Chandler, why don't you take this one?
C for Chandler.
Okay. The 733C for completely awesome. Has a movement of 353, as you'd expect. 13 single heat sinks, a full armor complement of 279 points, the maximum you can have on a mech of this size. And its weapons complement, you got a SRM-6 in the left arm, fed by a ton of ammunition in the left torso. You've got an LRM-20 in the left torso, fed by 2 tons of ammunition in the left torso. You've got 2 medium lasers in the right torso, and in the right arm, you've got the big boy gun, the bully on the block. You've got the AC-20, fed by 2 tons of ammunition, feeding from the right torso. So, very angry mech. Shoot things good. Ultimate city fighter. Don't get near it.
Mm-hmm. Definitely a close-in brawler with the AC-20. Having that line up with the long range, or with the range brackets of the medium lasers and the SRM-6.
Yep, they're all 369 weapons. Runs hot if you're going to fire all of that, though.
Oh yeah, but if you're that close and firing that hot, all of that at them, they're probably not getting back up.
Yeah.
Especially if you hit.
Yeah, this is definitely one that I feel needs to be stuck in a defensive posture because it has even more ammo issues than the 33 does, or the 733 without any letters. Because it ditches a ton of the LRM-20 ammo and a ton of the SRM-6 ammo to get you that AC-20. So it's definitely trading some longevity on the battlefield for just raw firepower.
And it's not an official manufactured variant. According to TRO 3039, Hollis had a fairly limited license to produce the Highlander, and so they never made any official variants other than this, other than the autocannon 10 armed one we already talked about, the 733. So all these refits with the AC-20 and then the next variant, the PPC, were unofficial, probably done by mech techs in units.
They're still very good,
Yeah,
though.
because especially with the 33C, it's a really simple change. It's not I mean, it's not hard, but it's also not the easiest change just because you have to change the feed belts, but yeah, easy peasy.
And I believe the C actually stands for cannon in this place because it's a field refit that upgrades the cannon. And then the next one we're going to talk about, the 733P, is P for PPC.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So this guy's got a battle value of 1857 and a point value of 44. And as Josh just mentioned, we have the 733P, again seen in the same year. This guy is our final Highlander for the episode, but it's going to end on a good one in my opinion, because this is a really good design for the Succession Wars era. You know, like it keeps that theme because we have a PPC in the right arm for the long range. We have the SRM-6 in the left arm. We have the LRM-20 in the left torso and 2 medium lasers in the right torso. Keeps that traditional movement profile of 353. It's got 20 heat sinks, and it has 2 tons of ammo for the SRM, 2 tons for the LRM. It has 3 tons for the LRM. 1 ton is shoved over into the right torso.
Yeah, I mean this just reinforces why I say PPCs are better than autocannon 10s in intro tech, and definitely after you get double heat sinks, because you swap your AC-10 and it's 2 tons of ammo for a PPC and 7 additional heat sinks, and you can hit further with the same amount of damage and better heat management.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I definitely think this is the best of the Succession Wars era Highlanders, even though there is the AC-20 variant, which I love. But for general combat, this is probably better. P for probably.
Yeah, like as a generalist, this is better than the C, but the C is a very dangerous, like, garrison unit. You know, you do not want to try and take a city from that thing.
You don't want to go into his neighborhood. That's his neighborhood. You leave him in his neighborhood. You leave him alone.
Mm-hmm.
He's the Clint Eastwood, get off my lawn of Highlanders.
Get off my lawn, yeah.
Well, the P has a battle value of 1858 and a point value of 46. So very similar to the points of the C, but like you get that 2-point spread in the Alpha Strike system, which is much more important than a 1-point spread in the classic BattleTech system.
Well, the C is 1857 and the P is 1865, so 8 points in the BV.
65. My bad. I must have typed that backwards by mistake. All right. So, yeah, I think we've talked at length about each of the models individually and how they look, but overall, like, the Highlander just has a very distinctive design. It has that cowl, which is iconic. It's got the one arm that ends in a big honkin' weapon, and then the other one that's got the backup short-range punch. Those reinforced legs just look a very specific way that I think few mechs either replicate or copy. So there's a reason it is so notorious, we'll say.
Yeah, it's very iconic. The Highlander burial maneuver named after it doesn't hurt its fame, so to speak. And then it's got a Gauss rifle, an LRM-20, and play in its original format. And players love Gauss rifles, and LRM-20s pair nicely with those. So unlike the Emperor, which we mentioned the Highlander when we talked to the Emperor because it's another jumper assault mech.
90 tons even, in fact.
Yep, the Emperor kind of felt like it had a smorgasbord of weapons, and it wasn't really iconic in large part because of that. Whereas this guy the Highlander goes Gauss rifle, LRM-20, make my day.
Mm-hmm.
I refuse to make your day. No.
Next up, we have pilot profiles, and our first pilot today is known as Eddie, and that's it. Eddie is the name given by this pilot, yet no one knows if it is their name or even what they look like, as they always wear a mask outside their cockpit. First documented on LeBlanc during the War of 3039, fighting Theodore Corrida's raiding forces. They then moved from mercenary company to mercenary company and traveled most of the Inner Sphere. Eddie's Highlander is hard to disguise as it sports a distinctive red with black and white striped paint job. Our last reports show them heading into the Draconis Combine with DCMS prisoners they liberated from a Federated Sons POW camp.
Bright red with crisscrossing white and black stripes. Feels like he's trying to do some sort of Highlander tartan with that.
Isn't quite coming together?
Isn't quite coming together, but he's trying. Speaking of the Draconis Combine and the War of 3039, next up we have Tie-I Barry Corman. He was the commander of an assault company for the 11th Ghost Regiment. His unit runs a mix of Highlanders, King Crabs, and Thugs. designed around fighting heavy Lyran units or potential Lyran scouts. However, in the War of 3039, they wound up fighting Davian troops within the triple city of Matar, and his company held on to one section of the city while the 1st Kestrel Grenadiers attempted to push the 11th Ghost Regiment out. The thugs and king crabs of the 11th Ghost eventually pushed into the Grenadier lines, finding pockets of Davian troops and holding them in place, while the Highlanders leapt out from behind buildings, performed Highlander burials on the pinned units. Tai Corman was credited with 3 battlemech kills, all by death from above, before the 1st Kestrel Grenadiers retreated out of the city.
Definitely putting those reinforced legs, putting in the work.
I think
definitely.
the classic BattleTech rules for death from above need to be reworked because it basically never works on the tabletop.
Yeah, never.
Yeah, like it's, but I feel a little bit of that is by design because it's supposed to be kind of like a Hail Mary, you know.
Yeah, except this entire unit was like, we're just gonna DFA Davian.
I mean, I'm not disagreeing.
That sounds like them.
I mean, I guess maybe it was a Hail Mary. After that much fighting, they might have been out of ammo, but still, it happens way too often in the books and way too infrequently on the tabletop.
That is entirely fair.
All right. Next up, we have Rhonda Snord of the Snords Irregulars. She was born in Clan Space as a freeborn. She's a daughter of Cranston Snord, who is the founder of Snords Irregulars. Who would have thought? She came to the Inner Sphere with the Wolf Dragoons, with the rest of the Snords Irregulars, and would stay with the Snords Irregulars when they broke off from the Wolf Dragoons prior to the Wolf Dragoons entering the Inner Sphere. She would eventually grow up in the Inner Sphere and would be accepted into the unit. However, she almost lost her ability to pilot a mech and was luckily saved by the medical assistance of the Wolf Dragoons, those great people. She would eventually be brought into the command of the unit when her father, Cranston Snord, stepped down after having a heart attack, which that'd probably be a really bad thing to have in the middle of a fight. I don't even want to think about what a mech would do with a neuro helmet on.
Now, can you confirm which clan the Snords are from?
Let me look at Cranston Snord. He is from... I don't have anything, but I also don't have any books. I'm working off of Sarna, and so Sarna does not mention anything.
So the joke is the Snords Irregulars are very much about finding random and bizarre bits of human history.
Yeah, like
yes,
memorabilia and stuff.
Which would be Goliath Scorpion.
Yeah, so the joke is they're actually Goliath Scorpion seekers who were seconded to the Wolf's Dragoons, despite the Wolf's Dragoons being an all-wolf unit.
Which, like, is a stretch, but it also would actually make sense, because you can definitely figure some compelling arguments that can be made for that.
Yep.
Because, what better way to find out what happened in the 200 years?
Yeah, so she would lead the unit through the clan invasion and would do a lot of fighting against Clan Jade Falcon, namely over a Star League outpost, Camelot Command. And then during the FedCom Civil War, she would again focus her unit on the clans as instead of getting sucked into the Civil War's fighting. And unfortunately, she would die at the beginning of the Jihad during the Donner bombing on Ark Royal in 3073.
That bombing took a lot of important people.
Yeah, just another one of those people that caught in that. She was known as a Shadowhawk pilot early in her career, but when the Snords Irregulars started deploying Star League mechs, she switched into a Highlander, so probably a 732 or 732B, which she named Heavy Metal, and actually had her mech modified to have a bunch of speakers attached to it, and she would blast music out through them.
Very Mad Max Fury Road.
Yes, and the artwork for it's hilarious. It looks like a DJ version of Galacticus with a gun for a hand.
So our final pilot for this evening is Star Commander Josiah. They commanded a star in the 33rd World Champions Cluster during the defense of New Caledonia from Clan Hellhorse during 3071. Josiah was able to keep his star in formation and intact while the other 2 stars were systematically destroyed. To prevent a complete defeat, Josiah charged the Hellhorse commander and completed a Highlander burial, throwing the Hellhorse into disarray, allowing his star to withdraw. Regardless of killing the enemy commander and saving his unit, he was chastised for resorting to
Desgra melee attacks.
Desgra tactics, yes. Just, one of those like, wait, how do I pronounce this? I have I said this out loud ever? So, I mean, got the job done. And, I think by 3071, the clans should have been dissuaded from the, melee is forbidden notion.
Ideology, religion is hard to shake.
This is true. So, for our data dive today, we are going to look at the Northwind Highlanders, one that I have been looking forward to writing for quite a while. So how does one introduce the mercenaries known as the Northwind Highlanders and give them any justice? Do we start with the formation of the mercenary unit during the Age of War, the settling of Northwind, the homecoming of the Highlanders after years in exile? Or do we honor them the way they remember themselves, with the oral history that starts at the very beginning? The first Scottish regiments are recorded as being formed in the 17th century, but the genesis of the Highlanders are in the formation of the 78th Regiment of Highland Foot. The emphasis here is like in brackets, meaning that they weren't officially adopted that name, or they're not sure when it was officially, history. And the 78th Highland Regiment of Foot, the 79th Regiment of Foot Cameronian Volunteers, and the 75th Highlander Regiment Abercrombies, and the 100th Highland Regiment of Foot Gordon's Highlanders. These 5 regiments would all be formed within 16 years of each other in the 18th century, and served with distinction in every war they were deployed when humanity was still confined to Terra. As time marched on and the needs of the military and nations changed, so did the 5 Highlander regiments. In 1994, a reconstruction occurred, resulting in them being combined into a single unit along with the Queen's own Highlanders, Seaforth and Camerons, to create the amalgamated Highlanders, Seaforth, Gordons, and Cameron. The fact that the Highlanders remained a unit at all was a victory, but it came at the cost of each unit's distinct history and traditions either being adopted, hybridized, or abandoned. By 2014, with the end of the Second Soviet Civil War, all nations reduced their militaries and invested in the WAAF, eventually being renamed the Terran Alliance. And Scotland was no different. Over the next 70 years, the Scottish military was reduced to 2 regiments, and they were parade units, no mistaking that. The Royal Black Watch and the Highlanders. Both remained active, in air quotes there, for ceremonial purposes over the next 150 years, even if slowly continuing to erode in size. By 2236, when the events of the Denbula Rebellion and its fallout led to the takeover of the government by the opposing political party, the Highlanders had been reduced to a company and were now being forced to disband. As part of Terra's exodus from the era, Clan Stuart purchased the right to colonize the planet Northwind that resembled their Scottish homeland. In defiance, air quotes, of their orders to disband, the majority of the Highlanders defected to join the Stuart clan in settling Northwind. While the record shows that the Highlanders as a unit emigrated to Northwind, the truth is that the unit was disbanded, but the community of the unit as a whole joined the exodus, and likely added as much equipment that they could walk out the door with to the colony resource pools, and are credited with the founding and building of Kinnery. It is also important to note that it is Clan Stuart Stuart. So, distant relation from me, I guess. For the next 130 years, the needs of the community did not include the need of a military, but that changed with the Age of War. The clan elders, the name of the ruling body of Northwind, could feel the shift in the solar winds, and so in 2362 they formed the first Kinnery Highlanders. The members were pulled from families descended from the Highlander unit of Terra. This helped create a through line and sense of shared cultural heritage the unit could rally around. The following 2 years, the 2nd and 3rd Kenry Highlanders were also formed in 2363 and 2364 respectively. 3 more units would be formed: Marison's Highlanders in 2369, McCormick's Highlanders in 2377, and Stuart's Highlanders in 2380. The 6 Highlander regiments would hire themselves out as mercenaries to any and all, but often found themselves working for the Capellan Confederation. The Highlanders would make a name for themselves as fierce and determined fighters as they shed their blood and the blood of their enemies, or clients' enemies, across the inner sphere. During the Age of War, many regiments would also be contracted for extended deployments, often leading to social friction when they returned home and had adopted local customs during their deployment. Here we see the beginning of the first split between the political and military leadership of Northwind. When the Age of War came to an end and the Star League was born, the Highlander regiments had a en masse defection to the SLDF, many warriors wishing to no longer rough it in the mercenary lifestyle. Shortly after its formation within the SLDF, the name Northwind was synonymous with skill and ability, and as for Northwind, many prominent scientists were born on Northwind, and many technological breakthroughs and innovations happened there as well during the height of the Star League. During the Star League's fall, the Capellan Confederation sent envoys to Northwind in an effort to gain the planet's support. Many military leaders championed the idea, seeing the writing on the wall for the Terran hegemony, but the clan elders were not convinced, fearing that it was an attempt to fold Northwind into the Capellan Confederation, destroying its independence and annexing the Highlanders into the Capellan Confederation armed forces. The rift mentioned before had only grown with time, and these diplomatic overtures did not help the matter. Many regiments would take long-term deployments, but now officers made special care to maintain the rituals and traditions of each regiment. Effectively, many of the units went into self-imposed exile. When the Star League finally fell for good and the remnants of the SLDF disappeared to parts unknown, many that remained were Highlanders. They returned to the regiments that their ancestors had served in, bolstering their numbers, but also imbuing the already stellar core of the Highlander identity with their honor and ideals of the SLDF. It was an unwritten code of conduct that the Highlanders would champion and uphold the values of the Star League whenever possible, often reduced to the adage, "take the moral high ground." This happened with each of the regiments despite being scattered and roaming the inner sphere. As the remnants of the Terran hegemony were absorbed and burned away, Northwind changed hands several times in quick succession, but eventually was secured by the Capellan Confederation for 20 years at the end of the First Succession War. Northwind was garrisoned by the Highlander mercenaries and was considered free from Capellan influence or pressure. 10 years into the Second Succession War, in 2841, the Federated Sons launched an attack and, as part of it, secured Northwind. The Stuart's Highlanders and the 3rd Kenry Highlanders were on planet and fought to the last, but they were utterly overwhelmed by the raw number of the invading forces. The self-imposed exile of the regiments was now a diaspora, and 2 of the 6 were simply gone. Now the Highlanders dreamed of returning home to reclaim their lost home. The Capellan Confederation propaganda only made things worse as they lied and played up the abuses Northwind suffered at the hands of the Federated Sons. They also enticed the Highlanders with promises of support of freeing their home planet. And this is where we will leave off today, with the 4 Highlander regiments spread to the cosmic winds to fight and dream of a lost home, and the promise to one day return.
One day.
Our sources for today are Sarna, Battletech Battlemech Manual, Master Unit List, Succession Wars TRO and RS, TRO 3075, Record Sheets 3075 Age of War, Operation Turning Point Widowmaker Absorption, Record Sheets Operation Klondike, TRO Clan Invasion, TRO 3050 Upgrades, Record Sheets 3050 Unabridged, Clan and Star League Record Sheets, EX TRO Comstar, Record Sheets 3060, Record Sheets 3085, Old is the New, Recognition Guide Volume 10, and the Northwind Highlanders Sourcebook.
And TRO 3039.
This podcast is made possible by our supporters on patreon.com/on the Origin of Battlemechs, link in the description. Our social media on Twitter is @Origin of Mechs. We also have a community Discord, the Armory of Ouroboros, link in the description. You can email us at ontheoriginofbattlemechs@gmail.com. If you enjoy the show, please leave a review on your platform of consumption, tell your friends about us, and share on your community platform of choice. Special thanks to my friend Laura for the intro and outro. Last dismissed. Everybody have a great day.
Peace out, Mech Warriors.
Stay safe out there.
Module complete. System standby. Would you like to load the next module?
Yeah, and you said
The Capellan Confederate water.
drink.